Hello and welcome. I am Scrubberlock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server. We are with Quintessence Lass, our level 34 brute, who has over 2.5 million experience earned, with 451,000 to go to get to level 35 in our next secondary power, which is the second to last one in the set that we need. We have over 8 million influence, and we're on a story arc for Peter Stemets, who says, Quintessence Lass, I just got word from the Magi. They've made contact with one of the souls in the strangely darkened crystal you recovered from the Greater Library of Souls. It claims that the soul of Lord Frostimus, one of Baron Zoria's old allies from the 1920s, claims to be that. What's more, it claims that the Baron himself is also a prisoner in another soul crystal. It says that it was transferred from the Baron's crystal to make room for a special guest, Circle of Thorns trader named Acarist. Quintessence Lass, if half of what Frostismus claims is true, this could be the biggest break we've ever had. Go recover Zoria and Acarist. Or Acarist or Acarist. I don't really know how his name is pronounced. If anybody knows, leave a comment. Not how you pronounce it. That's fine. I don't mind if you leave that comment. But what I'm curious is, does anybody know how his name was supposed to be pronounced? If anybody's got any data on that, feel free to post it in the comments. I mean, you can post how you pronounce it too, but I think probably what most of us would be interested in is how is it supposed to be pronounced. So we're level 34. We're moving through this story arc, and not sure which contact we're going to do next. We've done Jenny Firkins, probably Philippa Moreau. I think we should probably try to get her, or Marisol also. We should try to get Philippa's arc done before we get to level 35 so that we can actually get it. These other guys are going to cycle out at level 35, and for the remainder of this character, I don't think there are any places to do story arcs that we haven't seen before other than the Shadow Shard, which I refuse to go into because it's too frustrating. So all of these are going to be probably story arcs you've seen with Silver Phoenix or Tiger Strike, possibly with some exceptions in the late 40s or near 50. Because although I did those with Silver Phoenix, you haven't gotten to see them because the Homecoming servers started prohibiting you from posting our playthroughs starting around March of, I guess, last year. So it's been about a year, actually. Today is the end of February. It's February 27th. And I believe it was March 8th was when they announced it before that. But they said as of March 8th, you will no longer be allowed to post video about our... you will no longer be allowed to post video that was taken on our servers. The idea that they probably would have ever noticed what I was doing, given how small time my channel is really tiny. And I strongly suspect that they would probably never have noticed. But I don't think that whether you do something or not should be based on whether you get caught. Right? It should be based on whether it's right or wrong. And if the people owning the server have expressed the desire not to have video recorded for whatever reason, however stupid I may think their reason is, and if they have said that, look, as part of your end user license agreement of playing on our server, you are agreeing not to do this, I feel it incumbent upon myself to follow those wishes or not play on their server, which I mostly haven't been doing as well. So this is going to be a pain in the neck because of all the Spectre Demon Lords and stuff here. And it's a good thing we're on +1 and not +2. Now he's severely debuffed me, and I'm going to just have a really hard time hitting him. I think at this point we're just going to try to hit him until we get him. Alright, so that takes care of him. Now we go after the Earth. So what's going to happen is around level 35, 36, Circle will become a little less frustrating because what happens is the Earth Thorn casters will cycle out, and we'll start getting like Fire Thorn and Air Thorn. Maybe we've already had Fire Thorn. Eventually we're going to get Air Thorn casters, and they're actually not a problem at all in terms of hitting them. It's interesting, none of these guys aggroed yet, but they will, I'm sure. So we need to find Zoria and Akarist. And the Demon Lord's back here. Let's get endurance from these guys. There we go. A nice juicy endurance. And that takes care of all these guys. So, you know, it wasn't bad. There were a whole bunch of them lined up at the entrance, but because most of them didn't aggro to me, it wasn't really a problem. Alright, let's get this Demon Lord here. You can see why I brought 7 accuracy inspirations into this mission, because these guys are very accuracy debuffy. As you can see right there. Miss, miss. And we're just going to keep missing, and we'll just live with it. We have enough toughness that we can take care of it. And that guy, he's done. He didn't just disappear because we got an inspiration from him. So that means he was defeated. Yeah, so what's going to happen is eventually, I think it's at level 35 or 36, the Earththorn casters start to cycle out of the Circle of Thorns. Out of the Circle of Thorns cast of characters, and we start getting like Airthorn and I think Firethorn. I can't remember what order they go in. I think Firethorn may be next, and then Airthorn at 40. Not sure. I always love being able to suck endurance out of them and get it back. Well, this is hilarious. So when I walked in, I'll show you guys in a sec. I walked in from over here, and I looked on both sides of this to see if there was a double spawn, and I'm like, okay, there's not a double spawn. Yep, there is. It was just on the other side. These little diamonds always get me. No matter how many times, even when I'm talking about it, even when I'm thinking about it, they still find a way to trick me. Alright, so we took care of that guy. So as we're going, I want to talk about something interesting. Maybe interesting isn't the right word. As you guys know from many, many conversations, I am playing D&D, and I read the D&D Beyond forums, which is a commercially supported forum for Dungeons & Dragons Beyond, D&D Beyond, which is a website for playing D&D. And so I've been there a lot, and as you know, I've gotten into various arguments with folks on those forums, and I've never been, and hopefully never will be, actually banned by them. But there certainly is should we say, a chilling effect that the ban happiness of some of their moderators has on. And I'm not bothering to fight all these guys. This isn't a defeat all, so we're just gonna keep going here. There is a chilling effect that them being so ban happy has on the membership of the forum and on debate and discussion. And so there were 2 or 3 other guys who, along with me, have very much not liked many of the changes that have been implemented in D&D. We voiced our displeasure on the D&D Beyond forums, and the other 2 guys in particular, two of the guys, have been banned repeatedly for essentially making really good arguments against some of the changes that have been made to recent D&D, and banned with generally not sufficient justification, just because the moderator agrees with the people who are on the the side of the changes that are being made, and so he'll find any little excuse to. It's not really a ban; it's sort of like a suspension. They call it a vacation. I said if it's a vacation, I hope they're going to pay for a nice trip somewhere like Tahiti. So a number of them have been invited to take vacations, and I've also I haven't had any issues with that, but I have become sort of frustrated by the fact that you kind of can't speak your mind on the forum, even politely, because if you dare to express an opinion that is not kind of, should we say, politically correct on those forums, right? Politically correct for those forums, they kind of don't want you to be able to speak at all. And so there's been a lot of this banning and, oh, all right, let's try to do this again. There's been a lot of banning and suspending and stuff like this. And it doesn't look like a Karist is up there, so we're just going to keep going. I'm not a fan of that sort of moderation. Obviously, if somebody's being severely personally offensive, then yes, they deserve a ban. But most of the time, this is not what's happened. And so one of the guys one of the other guys and I who have been on the sort of the side that objects to what's being done by Wizards of the Coast have kind of stopped making a lot of posts in the general forum. I've been in the DMs forum, like giving some advice to some of the DMs to help them out, and that sort of thing. And the other guy's been in the kind of help forums, helping people figure out like just how to friggin' use D&D Beyond to do what they need to do. And neither of us have really been posting there. And so the third guy has been, and he's like, we're taking bets on when he's going to next get a suspension and for how long. Because we know it's coming, just because he's arguing the unpopular argument in these threads. And so the one guy asked me, like, are you okay? Have you, you haven't been posting much. And I said, yeah, I can't be bothered. And he then said, yeah, the other guy's not posting either for, I think, the same reasons. And my response was, if you can't speak your mind, there's no point to speaking at all. Right? Why would I join a conversation in which I'm not allowed to say what I think? Because it's unpopular with the people to whom I'm saying it. And in fact, it's not clear that it's unpopular with the people to whom I'm saying it. It's unpopular with the moderators of the forum, who are a tiny, tiny little subset of all the people on that forum. Now, I know to some degree they have certain obligations to Wizards of the Coast, and they can't just be a website that supports the constant vitriol of players griping about Wizards of the Coast, because Wizards is letting them use their product, and why would they do that if the company is allowing people to spread all kinds of nasty comments about Wizards of the Coast, right? So, and there's some limitation to how much freedom anybody can have on a site like that to speak, but when they're sort of one-sided about it, and it's really blatant, I find so I don't even want to post there. And so I've sort of taken a step back from there a little bit, and I'm still playing D&D. I'll ask questions if I need help with a ruling, and I may help people who also feel they need help with rulings, sure. But I'm not going to get caught up in the stat bonus debate anymore. It's just not worth it. And it galls me, and I said this to the one guy, to shut up about it, because to some degree it's letting the people who are trying to shut you up win, right? Which you shouldn't, generally do. But on the other hand, there's an extent to which I just am exhausted. And of course, that's exactly what certain of the people on that website want, is to browbeat you into submission, and then they win. right? Because they're not interested in having an actual debate, in learning what the other side thinks. They're interested in saying the other side is wrong and shutting them up and making sure they don't speak anymore. And with the one guy, they haven't succeeded, but with me, they have, because it's not worth it. I'm tired. They exhausted me successfully. And, if my views are going to be so explicitly and completely unwelcome there, then, and in particular, if I'm going to be called all kinds of insulting names for holding those views, then I'm not going to speak them there. Because, why would I? But the danger of that, of course, is that you then lose all debate. And is this where a Karst is going to be? It doesn't look like it. You lose all debate. And then there's sort of no point to being on those forums. And I think what they're going to find, and this happened in the Star Wars Galaxies forum. At first, there were a lot of negative comments about that game because there were a lot of issues with it. And at first they allowed it, and they had pretty open debate when Raph Koster was in charge of it. And then when Koster left, which was fairly early in the development cycle, they kind of said, essentially, the devs aren't going to answer anything on these threads anymore. And what they tried to do was create a liaison system. They picked individual players. I was actually the entertainer liaison. A really good friend of mine, Cinda Blackstar, on the forums, I don't know what her real name was the liaison for the dancers. I can't remember who was the liaison for the musicians, and somebody for the image designers. And because we had been pretty vocal on those forums, and I think Cinda was chosen and asked, who would you like to work with? And she put my name forward. Maybe this is Akaris and Zoria. She put my name forward, and so I became a liaison, but we had very little effect, right? What they really wanted us to do was to basically be the ones who had to deal with all the vitriol of the hate from the players who were mad, especially in the entertainer and dancer and musician forums, and image designers. I mean, all of the entertainer professions needed love and were getting nothing. But they wanted us to take the heat, so they didn't have to. And I did that for a little while and just said, this is transparently propaganda, right? And I won't participate, and I quit. And I think Cinda did. Cinda stayed a little longer, but she eventually, and I think the musician guy was the last one. And eventually they also said, there were too many liaisons, so they merged them down, and they had the musician guy just be for all entertainer classes and so on. But I was actually put in the same position in real life. My home is in a place that there is a homeowners association, but the builder is still building in here, and the way the bylaws work, the builder gets 4 votes for every property that hasn't been developed yet, and there were tons and tons of undeveloped properties. And so the builder was able to way outvote us. I think we're almost to the point where we're going to be able to outvote the builder. But if we're unanimous, and only if we're unanimous, would we outvote the builder. And so I guess they're in here. I don't know where that guy went. Yeah, so to save them, we're going to have to kill them, or beat them up, which is kind of dumb. So the builder was having all kinds of trouble with the homeowners because they weren't doing stuff they were supposed to do. And they ran the HOA, and they didn't want to deal with the homeowners. So they created an advisory board. And this happened actually, so what happened is they had an open meeting that was supposed to be announced. They didn't announce it. It was supposed to be announced. They didn't announce it the way they were supposed to. They thought they announced it without the sufficient notice. And I think they believed that if they announced it like that, nobody would show up at the open meeting of the board. Instead, one or two of the really angry homeowners got a whole bunch of people to show up at the board meeting, and they then had all of these ticked off homeowners who were mad about a variety of things, some of them reasonable, some of them not. And they ended up saying something like, well, whatever the things we were discussing weren't on the agenda, so they couldn't discuss them. And so, and this is to make sure he doesn't run away, I taunted him. And so they realized that that wasn't going to work. So then they said, they asked people to volunteer, and I had no interest in this, none, zero. And one of my neighbors, who was the most vocal against them, begged me to put my name in the pot. Right? He said, please, put your name in, so that if enough of us put our name in, they'll know that there's interest. And unfortunately, they wanted like 5 people on the advisory board, and only he and I and like 5 other people put their names in, 6 other people. And a number of the other people who had put their names in were the rabble rousers, like my neighbor, who the builder didn't want on their advisory board, because they were going to then have to deal with those people. Where the heck is a Karist? So I don't know. We'll just keep looking. So they picked me, and I was on the friggin' thing I was supposed to be like a 1-year appointment, renewable for 1 year. I ended up being on the damn thing for 3 years. And all we got was complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint from the homeowners about stuff that the builders hadn't done right. And we had to keep saying to them, guys, we're not the builders. We don't have anything to do with that. Right? We're the HOA. And so, yeah, the Sony Online Entertainment thing was the same way, right? It was the builders, Sony, etc. They don't want to deal with the complaints, so they make somebody, be the fall guy to deal with the complaints. And so I've sworn never to do anything like that again. It's just not worth it, because you can't win, right? The higher up person, the guys who were the forum moderators, or the builder in the case of my HOA, those guys do not want to hear anything negative. They just want everybody to shut up and give them money, essentially. And so they don't want to hear the negative stuff. And the people that you're either representing or what have you get mad at you for things you had nothing to do with, and you can't affect, and they think you can. And it ends up being very frustrating, and no, don't want any part of that. But it's pretty typical for companies not to want they don't want constructive criticism. They just want you to like their product, right? And if you don't, they want you not to say anything. They don't want to, if you think about like City of Heroes, and you give constructive criticism that there's something wrong with the way they design missions, well, if they were to listen to that feedback, that would mean that they would have to fundamentally redesign missions, which is a huge task. They don't want to hear that. They don't have time to do that. They don't have the manpower to do the retooling that they would need to make the missions better. They just want you to shut up and play their missions. And I have no friggin' idea where a Karist is. Is there an inside to this? That maybe he's inside down here? So yeah, most people, when they ask for feedback, don't actually want any feedback. I am kind of rare that way. When I ask for feedback, I always want it. I always mean it when I ask for it, like with my students. And I don't know. Sometimes they don't really give extensive feedback, I think, because they have so much experience with people who ask for it not actually wanting it. But I do. Like, I actually listen to what my students say and make adjustments to my course if I think that their criticism is reasonable. It's not always reasonable. Sometimes they're flat out wrong. Right? Students will say things in my writing class like, I had no idea what to do, what he wanted me to do. That's a flat out lie. Or let's put it this way: if they had no idea, they were being willfully ignorant. Because I have detailed, multi-page instructions on every assignment. And if you're not going to read those instructions, that's on you. But you can't say that I didn't provide them. Um, so, um, and I'm just defeating all here because I don't know what else to do. I can't find a Karis, so we're just going to have to do the best we can here. And if I can't find him going through this whole thing one more time, we're just going to autocomplete. You know the deal. There's a limit to how much time I'm willing to waste finding a needle in a haystack. So, and we've about reached it, to be honest. Like tapping the tab key like crazy in case I've missed anybody. So this is definitely a different map from the one that I had when I rescued a Karis with Tiger Shrike. He really should have been in here, no? So we got the soul of Baron Zoria, but we don't have the soul of a Karis. And I don't know where else to look, guys. We've been everywhere, haven't we? So I give up. I'm going to just autocomplete it. So I'll pause it here and I'll bring you back when we're outside autocompleting. Alright, we're back outside, so let's go ahead and autocomplete this mission. And so it's automatically completed, and that's the end of the story arc, guys. Unfortunately, we had to autocomplete the end of the story arc, which is a shame. But Akaris was absolutely not in there. Alright, so that's the end of this episode, and that's the end of this contact. I'm going to stop here. When I bring you back, we'll be on a story arc for Philippa Moreau. I don't know when that will be, but I'll bring you back once we're on a story arc for her. Until then, I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server.